all right? You can do it? Beautiful.
Hi, I'm Ali and this is StudionAme Online. I'm going to show you how to start doing free motion embroidery on your sewing machine. In my own practice, I use thread to create artwork, and I hope this session gives you a chance to start making your own creative pieces. To start with, I'm going to show you a few works that I made when I first learned how to free motion embroider, and then a couple of pieces that I've been making more recently. To set up the sewing machine to allow the fabric and embroidery to move around freely, the feed dogs or feed teeth will need to be lowered or covered. Refer to your sewing machine manual on how to do this. My machine has a lever at the back that lowers the teeth. You'll also need to change the foot on your machine using a quilting or darning foot. I use an open toe foot as I find it easier to see what I'm working on. Use a universal quilting or embroidery needle. I set the length dial to 0 and work in a straight or a basic zigzag stitch. You may need to play with the tension depending on your machine and fabric. Thread your machine in the normal way and then you're ready to start to embroider. First I'm going to hoop the fabric. This helps stabilise the fabric as you're working on it, and it makes it easier to manoeuvre once you've got it under the needle. This small hoop has been bound in strips of fabric and secured in place with a couple of stitches. This is can be helpful particularly when you're using thinner fabrics, as it helps stop the fabric from slipping as you're working. Today I'm just going to use a bare hoop though, and I'm going to use some canvas material. Canvas is nice to start out with. Well, I found it nice to start out with because it's quite thick and it holds the stitches well as you're working, and particularly if you're working with a thicker stitch. If you've just got cotton, a thickish cotton or a calico at home, that would work well as well. If you're using a thinner fabric, you will need some kind of a stabiliser on it. So taking the inner hoop out, and with the outer hoop you place the fabric over the top and then pop the inner hoop inside, pushing it down. I just tighten up the screw at the top a little bit just to stop the fabric and inner hoop popping out, and then push it down down and hold the, as you hold the inner hoop in place, just pull up the edges of your fabric, and this will help tauten the fabric evenly. You want to do this all the way round. And then tighten up your ring again. And just give it another pull all the way round. You want to make sure that it's a bit tight, like a drum. So this will need tightening up with a screwdriver. So you can just use your little sewing machine screwdriver to do this. And that's nice and tight. When starting out with free motion embroidery, it's a good idea to begin with a fairly simple design like your name or initials, and to draw out something that has a fairly simple line to follow. I've just done some simple bubble writing here with a water-soluble dressmaking pencil. You could use a normal pencil or a dressmaking pen or a felt tip even. Just something that you can see the outline of, so you can start to follow it. If you feel confident, you could even don't bother to draw anything out and just try freestyle. Once you've placed your hoop below the needle, lower the needle to just above the starting point. With free motion embroidery, you need to push your machine pedal down fairly fast, but keep the movement of the hoop steady. Think fast foot, slow hand. You need to be almost zen-like with your hand movements, even though the needle is whizzing quickly. Follow the lines of your name all the way round. With the feed dogs down, you can move your hoop in any direction and stop and start easily if you need to. Threads off as you go so they don't get in your way, and then you can always neaten up at the end. So I've now filled out the outline, So we're going to have a go at filling in colour. If I'm filling in a fairly large area, I sometimes start with zigzag stitch just to fill the area quickly and then work over in a straight stitch. You might prefer to just work in zigzag if you like that look. Perhaps start with that and then see how you go. Just done a little bubble round the lettering, and I'm starting to fill that in. I'm just going to work my way round, and then we can have a look and see if it's worth going in straight stitch afterwards. So I think I will work in a straight stitch just to fill in the colour, and it will surround the lettering a little more clearly. stitching. Every now and then cut away the loose threads at the back of your hoop. This will stop the threads getting tangled up with your needle and make it easier to sew. Also gives a neater finish at the end as well. Also, if you find dust building up in your machine as you're sewing, free motion embroidery can build up a lot of dust, then just clean out the dust from underneath your bobbin case and up above the needle with a small paintbrush. This will help your machine run better. So a simple design, but as I say, this is a good place to start out with free motion embroidery, as it gives you a chance to try out the different stitches and build your confidence using the machine in this way, and who knows where it might lead you.